Our distinguished speaker, Professor Emeritus Dato Dr. Muhammad Tahir Md.Azhar, Ombudsman from Office of Ombudsman and Integrity, Professor Dr. Ahmad Hafiz Zulkifly, our Deputy Rector for Responsible Research and Innovation, which is also our moderator for today, members of the University Management Committee, Associate Professor Dr. Liana Burhan, Director Office of Knowledge for Change and Advancement, organizer for Murabi Talk Series, Deans and Directors, brothers and sisters. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and welcome to IUM Murabi Talk Series featuring Professor Emeritus Dato Dr. Muhammad Tahir Md.Azhar from Office of Ombudsman and Integrity with the topic on how to be an effective Murabi. The session is organized in conjunction with Academic Month celebration. The participants Murabi Talk Series is a platform for all IM committee members to learn from the wisdom and experience of highly esteemed speakers who we regard as Murabi, so that we may become better persons in executing our duties and responsibilities. I am Muhammad Noor, biomedical science student from Kuliah of Allied Health Sciences, and I am honored to be the MC for today. Without further ado, let us begin our session for today with the recitation of Furqan, Al-Fatiha and Dua recitation. Al-Fatiha. Alhamdulillah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi washabihi ajma'in. Allahumma aftah alaina hikmataka wa anshur alaina min khazaini rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Rabbana shrah lana sudurana wa yassir lana umurana wahlul 'uqdatam min alsinatina yafqahu aqwalana. Rabbana zidna 'ilman warzuqna fahman. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inna kunna minaz zalimin. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وقنا عذاب القبور وقنا عذاب المحشر وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Amin amin ya rabbal alamin. Dear participants, as of now we have around more than 30 participants on YouTube and currently more than 100 participants on Zoom. I just would like to have a housekeeping announcement. To all participants, please record your attendance and the link is available in the chat room. And to our speaker, we have many participants who are eager to listen to you, Dato. And as of now, I will now hand over our session to our moderator for today, Professor Dr. Ahmad Hafiz Zulkifly, our Deputy Rector for Responsible Research and Innovation. Therefore, over to you, Prof.
Okay, so thank you, Brother Anwar. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Prof. Dato Muhammad Tahir Azhar, Ombudsman of IAM, Prof. Ahmad Faris Ismail, Deputy Rector of Academic and Internationalization, UMC members, deans, and others, brother and sister. Thank you very much. I would like to introduce Prof. Dato Tahir before he starts the Murabi talk. Prof. Emeritus Dato Dr. Muhammad Tahir Azhar is a physician and a consultant in clinical oncology. He has served as Deputy Rector of Academic and Planning, and he also founding Dean of the Faculty of Medicine, or Kuliah of Medicine, and the first Director of Kuantan Campus of IIUM. Born in Kanga in 1949, after completing secondary school in Murabbi College, Kolkata, he studied medicine at University of Malaya. His career in medicine started in General Hospital of Penang in Kanga, followed by a stint of duty in Saudi Arabia for Malaysian Pilgrimage Fund Board and at University of Malaya from 1975 to 1977. In 1978, he joined Yusuf Kebangsaan in internal medicine. He obtained his MRCP in 1980 from Edinburgh, DMRT from London, and FFRRCSI from Dublin in 1985, and FRCP in 1990 from Glasgow, and FRCP in 1994 from Edinburgh. At UKM, Dr. Md.Azhar was appointed Deputy Dean, Development and Training, editor of its medical journal, and a consultant in radiotherapy and oncology. Besides being active in several professional bodies, including the Malaysian Oncology Society as a president till 1997, and Asia Oceania Clinical Oncology Association secretary till 1998, he was also vice president of the Malaysian National Cancer Council, MACNA, till 1998. Prof. Dato Dr. Tahir features regularly in local and regional postgraduate training assessment and examination in internal medicine and radiology. He has also delivered many lectures on various topics at meetings of Malaysian Society of Radiography, Malaysian Oncology Society, and several international meetings. He has written a book on treatment of uterine cancer, UKM 1995, a textbook in clinical examinations for medical students, and translated 3 textbooks into Malay on clinical practice, oncology, and nervous system disorder in 2002. He was appointed as one of the international advisors for the world-renowned textbook of medicine, Davidson Principle of Practice of Medicine, 19 Golden Jubilee edition. He remains in this advisory board for 15 years until 21st edition of this textbook in 2010. Prof. Dato Dr. Tahir has also several engagements at the international level. In 1999, he represented Malaysia in the RCA Committee of IAEA as advisor in training of radiation oncology workers for developing countries through distance learning. In June 2000, he was on the IAEA Advisory Committee to draft the future use of long-life radioisotopes in Vienna, Austria. In 2001, he was nominated by IAEA to advise on introductions of linear accelerators in Hanoi Cancer Center, Republic of Vietnam. He is still active with teaching in medicine. He loves village life and rearing goats and cats in his free times. I think he's a very colorful person and we love him so much from Kuantan. With that, Prof, I will invite you to deliver your speech. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salam ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursaleen wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Brother Muhammad Anwar, the MC, and my colleague and good friend, Professor Hafiz, and all officers from the university and all the listeners who have come to listen to this little topic that is actually a concern for all of us who engage in university work or service work or whatever else we do in our everyday life. Sorry, my voice is a bit affected after talking too much today. Yeah, the topic is actually on how to become an effective Murabbi. With that, I think we need to understand what the terms Murabbi means, because it's a big word. It's a word short enough, but the implications and the ramifications of the meaning that it covers is so vast. Being an Arabic term, this Murabbi term means any of these things: a patron, a superior, a guardian, a protector, a champion, an educator par excellence, a mentor, a guide, and an observer. All of these elements are contained in just one word, Murabbi. So we want to be a Murabbi, wholesome one. It is quite a fat hope, meaning a big hope, but very difficult to fulfill. But in the effort to fulfill all this is what matters, meaning that we work towards achieving that status. If anybody comes to you and say, and proclaim himself as a Murabbi, you just say, okay, thank you, scratch your head a little bit, but observe what is the effective elements that are in the claim. We have to be what you call fair to people, so we just accept it, but always measure it against all the components of what a Murabbi is, because at the end of the day, the most perfect or the perfect Murabbi is in the person of the Prophet, and nobody can achieve that. He achieved it because of divine will, and he exhibited this Murabbi characteristic in the most perfect form. We try and emulate some of this. That's all we can do. So when we say how to be a good Murabbi, effective Murabbi, we mean that we are trying to emulate all these positive qualities in a way that will make us be an effective teacher, an effective guide, a well-loved character, an exemplary one, and that at the end, at the pinnacle of it, is an inspirational teacher. That is what our aim is. So if we can have that orientation, we can then start trying to understand what this whole exercise is all about. That is a slide. That is a slide of the things that I have just mentioned just now in graphic form, meaning the components of this role as a Murabbi, teacher, educator role, which may in certain places be called a Mu'allim, in another place a Murshid, another place a Mudarris, a Mu'addib, and Murabbi. So with that orientation, we proceed on to the next stage, that is to realize with all these things that you have or try to be, where are you in the scheme of things? Where are you in the what you call in the various social institutions that we live in? Because social institutions include, I put it in the next slide. These are the very well-known social institution that is with everybody who live: the government, the family, the occupational workplace, party politics, religion, and education. All of these are social institutions, and the Murabbi's place actually permeates all these things, but particularly so, the base is education, but it is in religion, it is in workplace, it is in the family, and it is in all the other activities that one does. That this should be, we should be cognizant of and orientate ourselves in that kind of milieu, in that kind of environment, and not in isolation. Because some people tend to think that if I'm a teacher, my environment is my student and my teaching institution. That is a very narrow, restrictive view, when in fact, the base is teaching and imparting knowledge, but the audience and the people who are involved with it are from many other sub-entities, which we call the social institution. And a Murabbi should be aware of that. Because I have come across certain episode where the person involved in, say, teaching a certain subject will say, this is only applicable as I am teaching here. As I am not doing this related to my teaching, it has got nothing to do with it. That is against the concept of a Murabbi. A Murabbi should be one which exists in relation to other institutions closely related and even distantly related. We should be aware of that in order to be have a semblance of a good Murabbi. Again, in the point form, there you have to be aware that we are all members of the society, and we have to have appropriate association and participation with the society. There must be fellowship within the milieu that you work in. Fellowship means good relationship, respecting and tolerating everybody around. And I suppose a very restrictive word, but gives the meaning, is to have salatul rahim with all around you. And this general feeling of generosity. Generosity about what? Generosity about giving. And in this case, giving your ilm, giving your knowledge, and giving your expertise to be learned, to be shared, and to be distributed to all others for the purpose of enhancement of everyone within the milieu, within the society. That is the concept that a Murabbi should have. So what are the essential elements or characteristics that must be in the Murabbi? He must be an educator, and he must be able to do training. He must have a good personality, good character, and he must realize that teaching is one of the noblest form of profession, teaching, meaning giving ilm to others and educating them. And in fact, there is a hadith which is sahih, which says that whoever teach something for goodness, for good purposes, for him is a reward unending, as long as what he teach is benefiting for generations to come. Those who know Arabic and Ahli Hadith, they will know this hadith at their fingertip. Man dalla ala khairin falahu mithlu ajri fa'ilih. So I'm just quoting what is written, so nothing great, nothing Murabbi in it. It is written everywhere. So, and there you are. Those who teach will benefit from the teaching as long as what he teaches goes on being taught for eternity. Wih, banyak pahala kan? So this Murabbi thing and teaching thing and training thing is something that we are lucky if we are entrusted with it. And it's something that is given for free that we should be thankful for unendingly. There you are, effective teaching. Oh, just next one. Okay, these are in written form what I have just said, crystallized in writing, which is effective teacher. And he must be an expert teacher, not just teaching a general thing, but he must also be an expert in certain aspect of knowledge which he professed. He can be a tafsir expert, hadith expert, history expert, medical expert, and in medicine, the expertise ramifies from specialty to subspecialty to sub-subspecialty, like Prof. Hafiz. He's got a specialty, medical, subspecialty, orthopedic, subspecialty, spine and knee, joints, subspecialty, only the left joints, not the right joint. So, begitulah. sampai akhirnya. That means you must not just be mastering your general subject, but you're also a master of certain specialized aspects of that subject. And the third thing is that in all this, in the knowledge that you have, in the specialty that you master, you are exemplary. Because there are people who are expert, but they are not exemplary. Pandai, tahu semua, but nobody wants to emulate him. Sebab there are certain bits of the character which is not exemplary. When your students start feeling that you are only good at teaching and imparting, but not good as an example to follow, then we have failed in our attempt to be a Murabbi, an exemplary teacher or master or a trainer. So we try and be an exemplary person in the thing that you teach and in the things that you impart. Now, what are some of the attributes and the good qualities of a Murabi? I alluded to only just now. You must be a master of the subject. And then the knowledge that you have has to be something that is unquestionable, meaning that it is truthful, it is accurate, it is accepted, and it is easily proven, and it is what you call, the effect is seen by people who wants to see it. So these are the attributes and the qualities of the Murabbi who has done his duty in a way that is easily seen and proven for everyone to look at and see. And the things that you impart must not only be good, but they are truthful and factual. Because some people, I'm sure you have watched many YouTube and videos on many people in the YouTube telling this, telling that, and they sound like they are expert. Lots of terms they use, which makes them, for those who don't know the real thing, as expert. But they are not factual. They are not truthful. So I don't want to be personal or naming actual people, but you go and open YouTube on any subject, from religion to science to pseudoscience to many of the other things, you will see a lot of statements and things being told which are not truthful and which are not factual. So a Murabbi does not involve himself in these things. They only give truthful, factual knowledge. And then the Murabbi must have a way of delivering all these things in a way that is very receptive to the students or the followers. When you know, there are many ways to say the same thing to people, but some people can say it so well that the listener feels convinced. And another one, he says the same thing, but the way he says it and the words used and the feeling created between the teacher and the student is just not compatible, and the whole message is down the drain. So that is not a good Murabbi. So the delivery must be good. What's the word you use? It must be the English word, the equivalent Malay word is bijaksana. The word is, the delivery is full of wisdom and cleverly put. Lihana ada perkataan on a good delivery which is bijaksana. What is the word? I would say very well-crafted delivery. That's what I would say. Eloquent is an aspect of it. I mean, eloquent, because one can be eloquent but all bullshit one, you know. You can be eloquent but bullshitting all the time. but this is eloquent in the positive way, well-crafted, truthful, and accurate. That is the hallmark of words coming from a true Murabbi. And Murabbi has this quality of leadership, meaning that he is looked upon as an authority who can lead the way, who can lead you, the listeners, the students, to the right conclusion. It shows you not only the thing, but the method, how to get the thing in the correct way. So that is another characteristic. He has got leadership, and his leadership is always guided by divine tenets, by divine tenets, not his own invention, not his own whims and fancies, not by some cult people, but based on divine tenets, divine revelation, divine rules, divine guidance. Because people, I'm sorry to say this, people with non-divine guidance tends to be arrogant when they attain certain level of knowledge, certain level of understanding. They tend to think, not all but most, that they are supreme and their words are non-challengeable, and they tend to get that characteristic. No, Murabi, because he's always pious, always knowing that whatever he knows, he owns it, he owes it to a higher authority. That is also a very important characteristic. You will be surprised that some of the great minds who did great things, although they were not Muslim, they were guided by this principle. You know that this guy, everybody knows his name, Einstein. He is not a Muslim, but he says, without God, science is lame. And without science, the other one is limp. So to that effect, that means divine authority is important for scientific discovery, not just relying on one. He said it very nicely. Science is blind without God, and being just godly is lame without science, something like that. You can Google it and confirm what exactly has been said on that. And Newton, Isaac Newton, you know, the guy who did so many things, mathematics, physics, light, so many things. The one who discovered gravity, Isaac Newton, he was a Unitarian. A Unitarian is a Christian who does not believe in the prophethood, in the divinity of Christ, but believe he's a prophet, and there is this one being only as the supreme being. That's a Unitarian, and he died a Unitarian, and many did not know that, but many who studied Newton knew he was a Unitarian. And he, on his deathbed, said to all those around him, "Don't bring me a priest when I die. Don't bring me a priest, because the priest will come and in their culture give the rites, the ritual." He said, "No, not for me." Anyway, these are some examples of people who are teachers. They're not Muslim, but they still are humble to say that higher than them is the highest. So a Murabbi should have that characteristic and not be arrogant. The leadership characteristic must be there. And further on, I have listed there what are the things that should be with the Murabbi as a matter of course: the knowledge, the skills, the specialization, being the role model, instilling good values, inspirational, creative, proactive, has got leadership qualities, management abilities, good judgment, and good communication, and visionary, very wide view of things. He flies like a bird high in the sky and look at the ground and seeing all the things that people need to be aware of, rather than just sitting in a room looking at your own chart and imagining that that is the whole world, because you have written all your formulas and everything there. You think that's the whole world. That is not like a real wholesome Murabbi. And the person is of high integrity, trustworthy, high morality, courageous, highly competent, fair, and make conclusion in the decisive manner, honest, sincere, and again, the word wisdom keep appearing, full of wisdom, and then compassion. And both, not just they have intelligence, but they have emotional quotient is good, and spiritual quotient is good, not in spiritual intelligence, spiritual quotient. People who are not just mechanical or robotic, but they have got emotions which they use to blend all this into a wholesome person imparting knowledge to others. Okay. I have got some quotations there and examples from the Prophet and also from the Quran, Surah Ali Imran, on touching on the Murabbi, and also examples from the stories of the Prophet. Example here is when a Bedouin came. This is an incident everybody knows. A Bedouin came to the mosque. The Prophet was in there, and so were his Sahaba, friends, and Jama'ah. And the Bedouin urinated. I think the Bedouin was a boy, and everybody wanted to hit. The natural response wanted to hit the boy, teach him a lesson for being kurang ajar. The Prophet said no, and he took water, cleaned it up, and wiped it off, and taught with that simple act how what would be taken or could be taken as penghinaan, how he dealt with it, and taught everybody how to deal with such a situation. The fellow is a boy. The fellow may have been asked by some others to do the thing, so it's not him, it's others. So he thinks beyond. And what is the benefit of hitting the boy? What is the benefit of hitting the boy? At least I think it will cause more problem than solving it. But by doing that, not only the boy learn, all the Jama'ah learn how to deal with it, and all the fellows who instigated the boy to do the thing felt ashamed and really know what this man is all about. This Murabbi is a real Murabbi. He says, he does, and he inspires by a simple act because he is knowledgeable and he is full of understanding, and he doesn't use his emotion in the wrong way or in inappropriate way. So that is what we should learn from that simple episode. And as next one, as Murabbis, we should actually accept that we are all, apart from teaching and imparting knowledge, we are all leaders. We have to accept that. In fact, we implicitly accept that role. As a Murabbi, you have to have some leadership. If not a lot, at least a bit. whatever is applicable. And Murabbi is the job of everyone. When you look at the earlier slide I put, where is the position of the Murabbi? All permeating, all the social institutions. And if that be the case, everybody has to be a Murabbi to a certain extent, in a certain way, in certain situations. And it is, of course, a trust. You must be able to accept that trust, be sincere with it, be honest with it, and this is the basis on which you rest to carry on the amanah of teaching and imparting what has been entrusted on you to that you owe to the students. These are all the usual core values that we all must have as Murabbi. Top of the thing there is, of course, not to be arrogant. You have to have taqwa, you have to have amanah, you have to be accountable, and you have to be fair and just in all situations, at all times, for everyone. Not just a chosen. Huh? These are some examples only, which I jot down for your reading and further reference, if you wish, on impactful messages of collective destiny by some historical characters. The Prophet is, of course, topping, and some others there. The politicians are also there, Nelson Mandela, Malcolm X. Most of you know Malcolm X, how he became a good Muslim, performed the pilgrimage, and became one of the propagators and Murabbi in the United States for his people. And the next slide is, it is the task of all Murabbis to make people see the higher purpose of things. Because if we fail to do that, we become the routine of the treadmill educators. But if we are able to make people see the higher purpose of things, then we would make up the grade to be better and above all the rest and closer to being a good Murabbi. Because a Murabbi is not just administering, teaching, but also administering, managing, nurturing, and ensuring the well-being of the learner to flourish and develop fully on their own without your guardianship or stewardship anymore. I mean, you are producing something which will, after a time, become like yourself, if not better. We wish we should try and make them all better than what you are. That being said, it goes without saying that all of us must be able, all of the Murabbis must be able to see or to fulfill that leadership quality, because leadership does not just mean leading. It also means the ability to protect your crowd, the ability to when you look around, scout, to look around the horizon, beyond the horizon even, to see if there are any threats to your crowd. There are threats everywhere. When you're educating people, there are threats of the contra-educators. When you are doing some business, there are those threats which come to run down your business. So a leader should be able not only to protect, educate, and bring up your flock, but also to see on the horizon if there are any threats outside which can be damaging to your flock. So all these things should be within the realm of a good Murabbi, so that you really produce people who are able to achieve what they want to achieve and what you want them to achieve. I think I will stop there. And if there are any questions, you are most welcome. I will try and answer them if I can.
Okay, Prof. First, okay, Prof. There's one question from YouTube from Sabareh Bakri. The respected speaker, if Murabi could control others around, but he fails to educate his family, he fails to be Murabi?
Yeah, he is. I told earlier in my slide that a Murabbi is a Murabbi in many situations, and in teaching that this is the main Murabbi place. But at home, he is a Murabbi to his family. If he fails that, he fails. So it's like in one place you are successful, in another you are not. We are not going to condemn you, but we say it is good that if you can improve on the other side as well. There's no point giving judgment. What we can say is that you, as a Murabbi, in this place you have 80 upon 100. In this place you have 20 upon 100. I think something should be done. That should be the attitude. Or the because kalau gitu banyaklah prophet kena marah sebab anak-anak dia orang banyak tu tak ikut. Nabi Nuh anak dia semua tak mau ikut. Nabi Lot pun serupa juga, bini pun tak mau ikut. Betul tak? So he is not just Murabi, he is a prophet, but he failed in converting, or Prophet Muhammad himself failed in converting the uncle who brought him up, Abu Talib. But then revelation came. You are not tasked with making this fellow Islam, this Muslim, this fellow Muslim. That is God's will. He gives to whomsoever he will. He doesn't give to whomsoever he will. Not even a prophet can change that. So that's it.
Okay, Prof. Second question from Fazlin Hasbullah. Salam Prof. Tahir, thank you for the interesting talk. I would like to know your opinion, definitions of a Murabbi as somebody who brings someone close to Allah. This to drop. Hence, the main characteristic are Iman and fulfilling the commandments of Allah.
Well, the short answer to that is I agree 200%. Yeah. I also said in the talk that one of the essential elements of being a Murabbi, real Murabbi, is to have that guidance above you, that you are functioning guided by that principle, that there is one higher than you, the highest, who has given you all the prescriptions, and yours is to just follow the prescription as closely as possible. You might score full mark, you might score half mark, or you might fail. But the thing is you try.
So anybody from the members who wants to ask?
Assalamualaikum, Prof.
Yeah. Waalaikum salam. Oh, you have grown, huh?
I still remember me, inshallah.
In knowledge.
Inshallah. Dear Prof, we in our life we might have more than one Murabbi, right? So these Murabbi sometimes might have conflict each other. So as a student, how do we view this kind of conflict, and what should we do?
Murabbis don't have conflict. If Murabbi within inverted commas have conflict, then they are not Murabbis. They are Murabbas. Yeah, because you cannot have conflict. You can disagree. You can disagree, but no conflict. You say, okay, you have, or your opinion is this, my opinion is this. The four mazhab, there are so many things they didn't agree with each other, but they are the best of friends. When Abu Hanifah went to Syafi'i, dia kena jadi makmum, dia ikut cara Syafi'i semayang. Tu orang cerdik. But he, according to him, this is sunat and not wajib. In the other, this is sunat and not this is bid'ah or something like that. But when you go to be the ma'mum of that one, the etiquette says you follow the imam. So you follow. Kalau you pergi Tehran semayang di masjid dia, you semayang Jumaat, ikutlah dia. If you are a real, what you call, person with wisdom, you don't go around there suddenly saying, hey, tak boleh bang sebut nama Ali, mana boleh? Bang sebut nama Prophet saja, bukan nama Ali. You nak bersyarah dekat imam di masjid Tehran. Itu menunjukkan ketidakcerdikan, no wisdom. You nak semayang, ikut je lah. You tak nak semayang, balik semayang ni, semayang Zohor. So, again, back to your question, a real Murabbi with another Murabbi, real one, they don't go into conflict. They may have differences, even big differences, but they don't go into conflict. And you talk about how to settle, then there are many ways to settle depending what is the conflict and what are the circumstances. Sometimes you not confront, you ask them, why you say like this when the other one says like that? That is your partner. And then if still the conflict continues, you have to register in your mind that these are not Murabbis. Yeah, these are not Murabbis. We are talking about Murabbis, huh? Exemplary, God-fearing, don't quarrel with people unnecessarily, bijaksana untuk menyelesaikan masalah, very wise in settling conflicts, and not creating conflicts. Does that answer your question?
Thank you very much, Prof.
There's a question from Tan Sri Rector. I think we allow Tan Sri to ask.
Who's that?
From Tan Sri Rector.
Oh, he's listening also. He's the top Murabi.
Murabbi.
Okay.
I wanted, Dato, I wanted to find, I think your talk is very profound. Alhamdulillah. But can you universalize? I mean, there's a lot of appeal to this. Can we universalize this as a concept that other non-Muslims can also cherish this?
Of course. I cannot agree more. These are universal concepts. It's just we need to put it in such a way that it attracts people to appreciate it rather than come with prejudice. Because many people who are born with prejudice, they are prejudiced and they only have a negative aspect of things to talk about. But if we can actually present it in a way that is attractive and more rabbani, then most welcome.
Alhamdulillah. Especially when you say Mandela is, you cite Mandela as an example. So I was thinking whether this will be, resented by Muslims because he's not a Muslim.
He says so many things, and his principles are so, some are so profound that even some so-called Muslim cannot compete. There was one episode when he ate with the one who imprisoned him for 28 years, the one who maltreated him in jail on that little island or whatever for 28 years. And he had the people were asking, why don't you hit him on the head or something? No, he called the fellow and ate and enjoyed the meal together in freedom.
Okay, Prof, another question. In other words, this is from Siti Amiran. Murabbi should have similar qualities of a hadith narrator, isn't it?
Hadith narrator?
Yeah.
There are so hundreds and hundreds of hadith narrator, and some are very good, some so-so, some fabricators. So depends on which one. The fabricators, some are liars. They fabricate hadith, but some of the hadith are correct, but some are fabricated. So we have to be aware. I'm not a expert in, I'm not a muhaddithin. So, but I know the classification of different hadith narrators. The perawi, they call it. And some perawi are just wicked.
So any question from the audience?
I have question.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum, Prof.
Wa alaikum salam.
I'm Murad. I think you still recognize this name and you remember this name.
Of course, I can recognize your voice.
Okay, thank you. Prof, I have a small question. Traditionally, the reflection of Murabbi in the Islamic heritage is individual, in the form of an old, wise, knowledgeable man who has disciples, who is
Yes.
taking care of disciples.
Yes.
Can we talk about a breakthrough through the institutionalization of this concept, and we develop it into a corporate rather than individual experience?
Okay, very. I have no one answer to that. But what I can say is that this model that you're talking about has happened when I remember this guy called Said Naqib Al-Atas. He is a teacher, thinker, and lecturer, professor, and he actually set this tradition of having his classes and his students, he as the Murabbi and the student as the disciple. And that went on for quite a while with some positive features, but also some, in some quarters, negative development as well. But overall, I would say personally, it's a good thing. But some say is not so good. But to be able to deal with this more, we have to study properly and document it on the plus and the minuses of the things. So what you said is actually has happened. And there are, I'm not aware of other Murabbis within inverted commas who did that, but he is one of them. Maybe Prof. Tan Sri Zul knows of any Murabbi character with followers who are, who follows the Murabbi in a way that is like the Prophet, Sahabat followed the Prophet. That is the original concept. That means everybody to be Abu Bakr, Omar, Osman, Ali, that kind of thing. And or Omar Abdul Aziz. Agree with you, but the present contemporary situation is such that that may be a very huge undertaking to initiate. Does that answer your question?
It does, Prof. However, I was expecting a little bit of elaboration on the remodeling of the concept of Murabbi. Rather than talking about individual experience, we go for incorporate, like in our case, our university. So can the university as an institution can become a Murabbi rather than individual, Prof. Kamal or the Rector or yourself? Can we talk about the culture that is the Murabbi instead of the person? That's my question.
Okay, if you say can we, the answer is can. It's just whether how to do it and what resources are needed. If you ask me, is it feasible? It is. Is it something desirable? It is. The answer is all yeses. But there are what you call, it is a big undertaking. It has to be a serious undertaking because the very existence of this university partly is to do that. Partly is to do that. Maybe a big part of it is to produce Murabbis who will produce more Murabbis. Yes.
Can I add on to this? I think it's a very good question, but my feeling is the university will reflect the people in. So if you want the university to be known as Murabi, I think it must reflect the composition, the practice, the people in the university. The university alone will not be able to do this. I think at the end of the day, it goes back to what Dato Tahir is saying. If all of us or majority of us are Murabi, then automatically this university will be seen that way. I mean, just like when we call ourselves an Islamic university, there must be an essence of Islam. within us. Otherwise, the building alone do not make much sense.
Exactly.
So I think the translation is important if you internalize what Dato Tahir is saying. I hope I got it right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Prof.
So anybody else? Any question?
May I say something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dr.
Please.
Shakur from Education Department. Having thought a little bit about this concept of Murabi, I think the question that's being begged is what's the objective of it? And if you're a parent bringing up your children, then you're obviously educating them to be good people. But if you're a murshid, then you're training them to have a spiritual awakening. And so, you know, we can't do everything as an academic. We may be able to give them the study skills or the interpersonal skills. But as I said, what is our objective and how much of it can we achieve, you know, depends on our goals and our aims.
Is that a comment or a question?
It sounds like a comment, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, but maybe my question would be, how much can we achieve? I mean, Murabbi, if we take the Rasulullah as the ultimate Murabbi, you know, he was an educator of a spiritual, social, psychological, you know,
Yeah.
he taught us on many levels. But as a normal human being, you know, I think we can start by thinking about the academic, but can we actually achieve the higher level of Murabbi is my question.
Yeah. That's why in fact, at the beginning of the talk, I said it is the effort of trying to achieve the ideal that is the essence of the thing. That means that you are set to try and achieve what is ideal. You may not achieve the ideal, probably not, but that attitude or the approach of wanting to be ideal in your work, in the teaching that you do, reflecting it everywhere of the ambience that you are involved in is the thing that will result in the positive impact onto your students. That is what it is. I mean, the effort to be good, the effort to be knowing things properly, and the effort to be honest and sincere in your teaching, that is the thing that are all positive for the students. It is not sort of trying to do everything. When you said we cannot expect to do everything in the academic, no, nobody expects to do everything. Is the attitude and in the process of doing the thing. That is the what I was alluding to.
Maybe we could say the niyyah or the intention.
More than that, the intention and the way you do it. If having intention, you can have the intention forever. Well, before going to sleep, while sleeping, after getting up, you can have the intention. But when you do the things, you exhibit the sincerity, the earnestness, and the fact that you try your best to give accurate information, that kind of thing. That was the message I was trying to convey. You might not fulfill everything, but your effort is fully 100% towards that.
Okay,
you remember? Yeah.
Another question from YouTube, from Ahmad Al-Watib. Design of classroom is following the age, preschool, primary school, up to the university. However, how about the online teaching without being in direct contact as Murabbi and the class design?
A straight answer to that is that this online teaching can only be complementary. In real human-to-human contact, there is nothing to replace face-to-face contact. That is the essence of real imparting knowledge and everything. But if you have to be online, it can only be complementary.
So
but if situation stops that, then we have to say, well, we are trying our best, but it's not the best.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions from the participants? From the audience, any question?
I'm just curious, what would be the difference between a qudwa and a murabbi? Qudwa being an role model or an example.
Now here you're asking for the difference. I think essentially, they are, to me, it is the same. But if you want to split hairs, it is playing, I mean, splitting hairs.
I wonder if perhaps qudwa is a role model and example, but a murabbi is more active, more involved in the students' lives and behavior, whereas a qudwa is simply an advert. I mean, I'm thinking out loud because I'm not an Arabic scholar, but I do think that it's an easy thing to say, it's a difficult thing to do, and therefore we need to be clear on what it is we're trying to do if we want to achieve it.
To me, when I say the word Murabbi, in my mind, I imagine a person who is full of knowledge, correct knowledge, ready to impart it onto his students in a way that is going to be beneficial, and he does not exaggerate. He does it sincerely, honestly, and treat it as a responsibility, his responsibility, and he takes on that responsibility and try to deliver his best. That's it. And then whether he becomes a role model or not, that is as a consequence of what he does and the response of the students. Because sometimes you can be a great teacher, effective teacher, but the student may not treat you as role model. So there's a bit of...
Okay, there's from Ustaz Abdullah Bukhari. Can I say Allah looks to your actions and efforts, not the results, because Allah, the only one, controls the heart and the results. Murabi should then strive or struggle on planning, actions, and effort.
Agree.
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 No question. So any other questions from the participants?
If I can ask another question, Prof.
Yes, yes, please.
Okay, sometimes when a Murabi make a mistake, right? Make a mistake, and it's not easy because because of the status and etc. He might think that it's not easy to acknowledge the mistake and correct it. So, what is the best way? Is it simply tell to the people, yes, I make mistake?
Okay, I get your question.
Yeah.
When you say somebody make a mistake, the
Murabi himself, when he...
Yeah, I know. When you say the Murabi made a mistake, I don't know whether it is, there are three possibilities. One, it is a mistake. Number two, it's not a mistake. It is interpreted as a mistake. And three, is neither a mistake nor not a mistake, just trying to pick up something adverse to something different from what the person believes, the one who says it's a mistake. So I don't know the actual thing, and there must be an arbiter and somebody who knows about what the real thing is about. So there's no point proceeding from that statement that he made a mistake, the Murabi made a mistake. What was it? And who says it's a mistake? If it's a real mistake, then we can get on to the second stage of how to correct the mistake. Correct the mistake is one, and then correct the fellow who made the mistake is another. So there are many ramifications and assumptions in the theoretical situation. If you have a real situation, please illustrate to us.
Yeah, let's say a Murabi make a statement and he found out that statement is wrong. Maybe because
Murabi make a statement, and that statement is wrong.
Yeah, it's wrong. Based on, for example, he was giving some information. That information, for example, let's say he got the statistics or etc. And because of maybe sometimes people tend to make mistakes, right?
So
Yeah,
but based on that, so what is the best way to convey to the students? Is it like simply tell the students? Because sometimes what happens is that some students, when they put the credibility to the Murabi, so when the Murabi made the mistake, they start change their mind, saying that, okay, this person is making a mistake. So I don't think it's a problem with the Murabi, it's the problem with the student. But maybe there are specific way of doing it.
If I rephrase what you say is correct or not correct, and then before I proceed, meaning that the Murabi himself realized that he made a wrong statement, and how the Murabi should tell the student. Is that what it is? Okay, the straight answer is whenever you made a mistake and realize your mistake, you just explain to the student, I made a mistake, and that's it. I made a mistake, and the correct one is this. There is nothing wrong and more honorable than that. To keep quiet is wrong. To say that insist that it's right is wrong. To say that I made a mistake and will you please correct it? As an honest person. There's no two ways about it. You made a mistake, you tell straight. I mean, that has happened in my lifetime many times where the professors made a mistake and he will straight away say, sorry about yesterday, I said this formula was for this, it's not, it is the other one. Everybody makes mistake, as you said. Prophet will make mistake, you know. Yeah, Prophet made mistake and corrected by revelation. Apalah Murabbi lagi lah.
Okay, Prof. There's a question from Zuraida Ahmad.
Zuraida.
Zuraida. Salam regarding the generalizations of the concept of Murabbi. In one of the shop I attended in Madinah, we defined Murabbi as all the characters that Dato mentioned and bring he and others closer to Allah. He is with high of Iman. In this case, can we say those are not Muslim can be Murabbi?
Can we say?
Those who are not Muslim can be Murabbi.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this is a very, what you call, kalau hakim, hakim hack, not a core issue lah. Okay, it's like saying, can we call non-Muslim Muslim? Non-Muslim non-Muslim. Because Murabbi is, if we use it in as a language, it can apply to anyone, not related to their belief, except the part that they have to have this characteristic of acknowledging the Supreme Being. Because after all, the word great teacher, master, can you use it on non-Muslim? Yes, you can. To me, I mean, and then why the need to label people when you have problem with it? Why you need to give the title Murabbi when you can say so many other good words, equivalent or nearly equivalent as a good teacher, good master, expert teacher, inspirational master of architecture. So what's the problem? Because we tend to assume that I'm holier than thou. That kind of attitude is not with the Murabbi. Murabbi couldn't be bothered how many thousand other Murabbis are decorated. That is my immediate response without any study, without any. We should be, what you call, generous in our approach and attitude. And the other thing is not very relevant because you have so many terms to give accord. Hello?
So, yeah, any other questions from Kontan?
Ha.
Jamal.
Zuraida tadi dari Kuantan.
Oh, tak tahu.
Tahu.
Prof Tahir, Jamal from.
The Deccan.
How are you, Prof? Yeah, Prof.
Alhamdulillah.
Actually, when the universities, I heard the term Murabi actually in UIA when I joined UIA, and then from the very beginning we envisage we want to train our lecturers to become Murabi. So since then on, I try to understand the word Murabi, but for me, Murabi is our intention, our objective of life. So we definitely we are not able to say that we are Murabi. We are trying to become Murabi. If someone else called us Murabi, alhamdulillah, good. So along the way, we made all these mistakes. So I believe those are the things that I hope that those things are in line as what you are mentioning, Prof. So of course, that is not a split second of my life. I said that I'm worthy enough to become Murabi. I want to become Murabi, yes. I want to become useful to the community. I want to become useful to my student, of course, to my family, of course. But I believe Murabi is the title. Hopefully, eventually, Allah accept us as His servant. So it is going to be something that we want to achieve, rather than we debate what of course, we must know, we must learn from you, for example, the attributes, the characteristics, but the debate about these characteristics, I think, should not be too overwhelmed that hinder our progress. That's my comment, rather than seeking your wisdom with regard to the feedback, perhaps, Prof.
Very well said. You deserve to be Super Dean. Super Murabi.
Allahu Akbar.
Any other questions? Okay, if not, I would like to thank Prof. Tahir for being here and give us this talk. And it's a very good talk. I think I heard this talk about 20 years ago when I joined UIA, when Prof. Tahir interviewed to ask me about Murabbi, and I cannot answer what is Murabbi during the interview. But we learned so far, and it's the journey for fulfill, and that's the journey that I think is going to be a lovely journey, as been showed by our seniors, been showed by Prof. Tahir just now. So I think that's it. Thank you very much. I'll give back to Brother Ahmad, the MC, to continue, inshallah.
Thank you very much, Prof and Dato. May Allah grant you both good health, so we will all continue to benefit directly from your wisdom. And thank you to all participants. We have around 300 participants throughout the sessions from the Zoom and YouTube simultaneously. And as someone from the younger generation, I personally have learned so much during the past hours, and I think this content is very much relevant to the experience that we are having on right now. And however, before we end our talk session today, it is my pleasure to have our Honorable Rector, Prof. Emeritus Tan Sri Dato Zulkifly Abdul Razak, to give his closing remark before we end our session for today. Tafaddal mashkuran, Tan Sri.
Thank you very much, brother. I thought I would be excused for this. But anyway, alhamdulillah, I'm really very delighted to hear what Dato Tahir has said. I think he's a very comprehensive thing. And I am tempted to suggest that we take his slides and make it into a booklet. I think your presentation is very, very comprehensive. I mean, the rest are good, but they give their own what you call excerpts of activities. Those could be maybe a case study that we can put in the book. So could I suggest to whoever is doing this, why don't you attempt a booklet now? They've got enough speakers. We can take the speakers excerpt as an example of what Dato Tahir is saying in the overall. I think I must also confess that I copied some of your slides because I think it is very fascinating and very easy to understand. So Dato Tahir, thank you very much. And Murabi, nevertheless, you have demonstrated what it is all about, and it makes many of us, and especially me, more weary to attempt this Murabi thing. We are still sprawling on, on the ground, as it were, before we can climb up to be a Murabi. But your inspiration has put us into a kind of state where we try and make this university, as somebody suggested, a Murabi sort of university. So terima kasih banyak. As a junior from the college, I think I need to pay particular respect to you. You know, so thank you very much, and let's make dua, inshallah, that this series, I think, is growing, alhamdulillah, from time to time, and I think we are reaching kind of an understanding of what we should be doing and how we should do it, inshallah. So terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Tan Sri. And with this, we've come to the end of this session. May Allah continue to provide us with His endless guidance and protection. And to all participants, please be informed that the next Murabbi Talk series will be held on 10 November 2021, featuring Yang Berbahagia Dato Osman Bakar on a topic reviving intellectual and moral integrity in the academia and Islamic challenge. So thank you again, everyone, for joining the session. Let us end our session for today with the recitation of Tasbih Kafarah and Surah Al-As. Subhanakallah. Thank you very much, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone.